Hi, everybody. Welcome on board to our Monday evening live here from Healing with Marcus. I would like to shamelessly plug this offer I have going on. So, as some of you know, and maybe not all of you, I do sit with clients all the time. I sit in healing sessions with clients all the time. And right now, I have an offer. It's good until tomorrow evening. And this offer is that you save $100 when you have a session with me. It goes from 234 to 134, and it's good until tomorrow evening at midnight. So if you go onto my website, there's a link underneath this talk. There, if you want to book yourself, there's only like 10 spots available. So I would hurry up if I was you. But because there's been quite a few people already signed up, but a few more people, there's room for a few more. So I'm plugging these sessions. I call it my October offering, and it is for you either whether we do it on distance or in person. It is for you to set up an experience in the realm of the unseen. If you have any trauma or inner blockages that you'd like to have support or help in removing, the healing sessions that I do, they help a lot of people with those kind of things. So now I put together an offering for that. And I was going to say, welcome aboard, whoever's on here. I hope you had as good of a week as you can, right? We are going through some hard times on certain levels. Ellie K, beautiful sister, there you are. Lovely to see you, my dear. I'm so grateful you are here. So, when we are looking at what's happening on the external part of our world, where we look at the news coming through and the horrors, the terrors that are happening out in the Middle East, are just tremendously difficult to see how it's tearing our world apart. At least the surface level of our consciousness, right? When we are caught up in the news cycle, when we are caught up in the external experiences, these are terrible. And they are terrible. There is no doubt. We're not going to get around it. It's horrible what's happening out there. But we can also see that from this level, if you come back home, right, into your body and into your heart, on that level, we know that there is a deep sense of oneness in everything that exists. That beneath the layers of the ego and fear, beneath those layers, there's an energetic field that's keeping everything alive. It's keeping everything going. Sierras and Sunsets, good to see you. Sending out love and peace to all. Absolutely, that's exactly truthful, beautiful. Thank you, thank you. And that's what it is, right? We're recognizing the peace and love that is in existence within our hearts. And as we see the tragedies and the horrors, we can still realize and recognize that even though we know that it's terrible, we know it's a part of these schemes of dark forces to create more separation and more division. We can see how we're being forced to take sides, and those two sides can never meet. And unfortunately, we are again only spreading more and more and more separation, divisiveness. And what happens with that is that we start to view the other as unworthy and non-worthy, much like what happened during World War II, much like what happened in all these different atrocities where different forms of genocides have been able to be carried out, where we start to see the other as less than human. And what we fail to understand, what all these different people who claim to be religious, they claim to follow certain traditions and religions, they fail to see that love is the thing behind all of it. Love is the thing that they call God. The energy of love is the energy of life. This energy pervades everything we see. It's the energy of the universe. It's the vibrational tone of our world. And anything that's in dissonance with that creates disease and illness, which is what we have, right? It's a disease. War is like an illness. It's a mental illness. And if we look at what's happening then on the deeper part of ourselves, when you move deeper into your healing and more into your center of your being, you realize, oh but in there is still only love. Much like when we go deeper, if we dive into the ocean, and when we go beneath the surface, we will be sitting in a lot of stillness, a lot of silence. And that silence still exists, even though there's a lot of pain and suffering rippling through the quantum field. But we can also see that even though this is being televised, this is all in our faces. We see how the horrors are coming right to our front door, to our front screen. What we don't maybe remember is that horrors of this nature is going on every day in many other places on our globe. It just doesn't get televised as much because it's not as popular. So even though it's unfortunate, this is just one of the conflicts that are going on, and they are all very terrible. What we want to remember, so that we don't get too swept up in these divisive moves or movements, the movement of separation, what we want to remember is coming back to heart, coming back to ourselves, to our center. And knowing that when you sit in your love, you're supporting the frequency of love in the universe. When you sit in your deeper tone, you're supporting that part of the world. So from a quantum field, if we look at it from a quantum field, when we're sitting in our love, in our hearts, in our center, we are supporting that tone. And that tone resonates through our universe. That tone of healing, of love, resonates. So if you can either fill yourself up with light or sit with that feeling of love in your heart, allow that to fill your whole energy field, your whole body, and then your field, you become a bubble of light and love, right? And as that starts to vibrate out, I'm not saying we can't be angry. I'm not saying we can't feel bad about these things. Of course, we wouldn't be human if we didn't. But what we want to remember is that this conflict doesn't get better by adding more hate, by adding more anger. This conflict doesn't get better by taking sides. This conflict gets better if we can see that love is the prevailing effort, the prevailing energy under everything. And then we can support that tone. And over time, in our lifetime or in another lifetime, that tone will be so strong that the dissonance that is happening on our planet, we are either going to separate, like Dolores Cannon talks about two separate realities. They're either because much like we talked about the other week about two people coming out of their house, and they're coming out of the same house, and one person sees the rain outside and goes all depressed and sad because it's raining on their day off or something, and it feels very personal. The other person goes outside and he says, oh my God, it's raining, this beautiful food for Mother Earth, food for the plants, food for the trees. Knowing that the trees will then bear more fruit that later will be of more use. So when we can see the world more from a larger perspective, and we start to understand that the world looks different depending on how we feel from our emotional state, the world looks different. Over time, they're going to separate into one world that wants to be very, very negative and in the field of inside of the box, control, fear based, and one that's going more into the way of the heart. And what my hope would be is that we who go the way of the heart, that our voices will be stronger and stronger, and that over time we'll start to help to melt the walls of the cold-hearted, square-boxed ego, fear-based. So because if we can melt those walls, right, and we can create a society that is led by love, it leads by love, it comes from love. It always asks the question, how can we express more love in this situation? Instead of how can we punish more? How can we create more pressure? How can we control more? If we led from love, it would be a very different world. So our intention and the job here is to work in that direction, which is also why we're sitting here, right? We're sitting here together with you. so we can fill ourselves up with love and start to vibrate that out through our world more and more and more. This is where the beauty comes in, right? Your inner beauty shines out. You become a beacon of light and love. Not always easy. We still have to sit with our shadow and our dark sides and our negativities that are inside of us. And as we sit with them, we start to incorporate them or integrate them. And over time, they become of light as well. Over time, they become a truer form of ourselves. Because if we look at it now, it's just a form of us that took off. It's just a form of us that said, oh, this is too hard to be in. This situation is too difficult for me to be in. So I'm going to have to become angry. I'm going to have to become fear-based. I'm going to have to do something to create a shield, a defense mechanism. And nowadays, that shield has also become part of that whole, the dark forces that are running our world. So how can shamanism help this, right? How does shamanism play in here? On many different levels. And you know, when we say shamanism, when I say shamanism, it's really important to remember that that is not one way only. Shamanism doesn't carry the same doctrine or dogma that many of the religions do. They have the same origin. Many of the religions, they come from deep spiritual insights of the same nature as shamanism has, right? But they became dogmatic. They took over. And as we have a dogmatic, any kind of dogma, then we start to harden. Our mind forms around that hardens. So we harden around the conviction that, oh my God, this is the only way. And when we do, we start to create more havoc than love. Suddenly we're not connected to inner truth anymore. Suddenly we're more connected to the words that are coming through than the feeling, the energy. So where shamanism can really come in and help is because it's a strong movement towards nature, towards growing roots into Earth Mother, becoming more aware of our connection to Earth Mother and our role to play in this universe. It's so easy to forget. It's so easy for us to be caught up in all of these, the drama of the surface level life. It's very easy. But reality, shamanism goes deeper, goes into the realm of the unseen, works with the quantum field and with the guides and the energies that are, you know, that are living in the quantum field. And here's another part of what much of shamanism looks at. We call it animism, right? When we look at the world as being animistic or alive. If we really even look at the rocks, the mountains, the apus, the big apus of our planet, the big oceans, the big mountains, big lakes, nature formations, apus. We look at the mountains being rocks, right? When we walk on the ocean, on the beach, we often don't really think about it, but each grain of sand on the beach was once a big part of a mountain or a part of a mountain. And over time, erosion moved it around, grinded it down, and became sand on the beach. And when we start to look at how the mountains, the rocks, are incredibly old if you compare to us, and how our Earth Mother is one big chunk of rock. Yes, it might be molten in the middle. It's melted in the middle, right? But it's still a form of rock. And then we look at rock, and I see I have a big piece right here. This piece of rock is probably billions of years old. At least millions of years. And it's kind of fascinating if you start to think about how, when we look at ice, when people drill holes into the ice and they take out the ice core, they find all these memories of different times of Earth's evolution. So they can measure how much carbon dioxide was in the atmosphere. They can measure what was going on with the different plants at different times, because they can see the leftovers in the ice, these ice cores. Well, the rock is very similar to that. The different layers of time that gets ingrained, imprinted into the rock. The rock carries memory. When you walk next to these rock formations, often you can see the layers, the layering of the rocks. And you realize they've been formed at different times. And when they were formed, different things were going on. So it's just like a hard drive, carrying all the memories of what's been happening on our planet. And if you start to think about us being a part of Earth Mother, living on a big rock, being pulled along by the mass of the sun also being, in many ways, a big rock too, even though it's a burning rock, fusion-based rock. The mass of the sun is so massive that it pulls all of the other planets with it on our journey through the Milky Way. We realize that the biggest energetic beings we know are these pieces of rock. And we realize that even though we are humans and we have a very high level of understanding, we have a very high level of intelligence, there's a lot we don't see yet. There's a lot of connections we haven't made yet. Because if, just like an ant that lives on this rock, walks around on this rock, as I move it, this rock is being moved around. The ant may not know that I'm moving the rock. The ant may not understand that this is just one piece of a rock that came from somewhere else before, or a bunch of other things. The totality of it, the ant may not understand. Just like we don't understand our planet very well. There's a lot of things we don't know that the indigenous people knew so much better. That all the indigenous people from Australia to Africa to North America to South America to where I'm from in the northern Scandinavia, the natives in those countries all knew so much more. A lot of times science today, our modern science, comes up with, oh, this is the creation story. And if you look at the myths from the natives, they have very similar stories. So there's a lot to learn from shamanism that first now science is kind of coming back around to. And science kind of made us blind, right? Science took away the magic out of society. We started believing we could explain every single part of our world by knowing the atom, by knowing the molecules, photons. By knowing that, we thought we could explain the world. But we went blind instead. So as we come into the quantum field and we start to work into the world of the unseen, which is the energetic field that we cannot see with our regular eyes, but we can feel it. And now that the veil is so much thinner, we can absolutely feel it. This time of the year, the veil is very thin. We can absolutely feel deeper into the quantum field. And there is a lot of beauty to that. There's a lot of understanding, very deep understanding. And as we start to communicate into the quantum, intentionally, if you use your intention with intention, your mind, your will with intention, so your intentionality gets stronger, and we come from an aligned place inside, we suddenly feel what it feels like to pray for somebody, what it feels like to hold them in light, what it feels like to watch them succeed in front of your inner vision. Even if you have no idea how they're doing in real life, you just watch them do well. You hold them in light. This is sending real love. This is real prayer in action. That is a beautiful movement. So we'd like for you to hear this, yes? We'd like for you to hear that your inner reality becomes your outer reality, especially as you align your inner reality with your higher self. Your higher self, your original imprint, your blueprint, carries a very high frequency, has a very beautiful plan for you. And we'd like for you to align with that higher frequency, align with that higher desire that is here for you. Let's not settle, let's not get to be old and regret that we didn't fully align. Let's fully align to the best of our ability. As we move our awareness into the quantum field, we can also start to hold everything in light. We hold the suffering from the Middle East in light. We hold it in light so we can help mitigate some of the trauma that's happening, so we can help heal some of the destruction that's going on. Because it's got a big impact on the quantum field. But as we can help hold it in light, which is close to all we can really do, we can mitigate some of the damages that are happening. Because of course, the forces behind these wars and the forces that are in control of our world, they want us to live in more fear. They want us to be more upset, more angry, more powerless. We become much easier to control that way. So we always want to see through the veil, whether it be the veil of lies or the veil of existence. We want to see to the other side. Sitting in discernment, using your discernment to see deeper, to go deeper. And shamanism is what I believe, it's such an open way. It's about you finding your higher power, your deeper truth. It's about you finding your inner guidance, your inner connection to your higher power. You don't need a priest. You can sometimes use one. We can take help from people. But we don't need them to live our lives. We don't need them to get in touch with a higher power. So, your inner reality becomes your outer reality. This is what we are creating on so many levels. It's also why we want to take responsibility for what we're creating, come back home. So when we're creating, we make sure we actually enjoy what we've been creating. We make sure it's an enjoyable ride. All right, beautiful. Let's do this. Let's do a healing session. I'd like for us all to hold up the area in light. Hold up all suffering peoples in light, no matter where they are. But of course, we can especially focus our light on the area of the Middle East, of Israel and Palestine. Do what we can to put oil on the waves, remind them who they are, remind them of their humanity, remind them of their love, remind them that everybody's a human, that we are all human. All right. So we're going to focus on that. And if you have something you want to release out of your system, take some deep breaths. Find your way into your body. Kokotayateo, wahiyateo, wahiyateo, wahiyateo. Oh, wahia. Ota. Oh, atea, yahio, wahio. Shivaya Gurave Satchidananda Murataye Nishprapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Satchidananda Murataye Nishprapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Satchidananda Murataye Nishprapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase Taya. Taya, 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 taya. Welcome back in the room, everyone. I am so grateful we were here. I'm so grateful you were here. I'm so grateful we walked this earth together. And I'm so grateful we get to share these messages with everyone. If this spoke to you, or if this is something you want to share, click like and subscribe. Come on board every Monday at 7. Or go on board there's a link underneath where you can, Johnny Neal. Thank you, Johnny. There's a link underneath that talks about the October offer, my October offering. And it's good until tomorrow night at midnight. Feel free to go on board and check it out and see if that resonates with you. If you want to try a shamanic sit, you can do it in person or on Zoom. Either one works really well. I hope you are amazing. I see your spirit. I feel your heart. It's beautiful. Ellie K, thank you, thank you. Much love to you and to all. Blessings. Yes, thank you. So much love. Thank you. Namaste. Thank you, everybody. Namaste. And I hope. Have a beautiful week. See us at sunset. Thank you, thank you. Yay. Have a beautiful week, everyone. Talk to you soon. Let's hold that whole area in light.